All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started. Feel free to be camera on or camera off, completely up to you. I will be camera off. Unfortunately, my Zoom is doing what it wants to do today, and my camera is not working. So my apologies for that. But I'll start with a brief introduction. So my name is Christina Taylor. This session is going to be hosted by the Graduate School of Education and Human Development here at GW. So thank you all for joining once again. I serve as the Associate Director for Admissions and Enrollment. And so I will be leading this conversation. I also have a couple teammates in the chat. So if you have questions or need any have urgent questions, feel free to drop them in the chat. And they can answer them as I go through the presentation. And then we'll leave time for Q&A at the end for you all to ask any questions that you feel comfortable asking to the group. If you have personal questions or one-off questions, we can save those for the end of Q&A, and then you and I can hop on, either stay on the call or hop on a separate call to have that conversation. So we are going to go ahead and get started. The agenda for our session today is going to look like this. So we will start with a brief overview of GSEHD. I'll give you some kind of fun facts and details about our department overall. Then we will segue into the programs that we offer. And then we will get into the admissions requirements and funding opportunities. And then, like I said before, we'll end with Q&A. So let's get started. Pictured here, you will see our mighty team of four for our admissions team. So we have Stephanie, myself, Kai, and our new addition to our team, Kristen, whose picture is coming. We serve as the admissions team for the Graduate School of Education and Human Development. As you see listed, our email addresses are there along with our phone numbers. And so if you have any questions about your application, about the application process itself. If you have any program specific questions, you would direct those questions to our team. Pictured in this on this slide is going to be a brick building. This is going to be our Office of Student Life. This is where we are housed on campus. This is actually where I'm sitting right now. And so in this office, we have I'm going to say three tiers of support for our students. We have the admissions office or the admissions side where we work with you, like I mentioned, with the admissions process. And then we have the student success and career services side. And those services are going to be centered and geared towards students post admission to your program. We all are in the same office. We work collaboratively, excuse me, together to serve our students. And so what we kind of present is an option for students to have kind of support and encouragement throughout your process while you are a prospective student, when you're in the process of becoming a student, and then after you are a student and preparing for graduation. Pictures here are going to be a few pictures of the GW campus, a few kind of focal points that are popular on campus. So in the middle center, you will see a picture that's going to be kind of the center of campus, the Kogan Plaza. You'll see the aerial view, both pictures in the middle. And then, of course, we have a couple statues of George Washington on our campus, which, tracks. And then down here on the bottom right, you will see a picture of Washington, D.C., and just, again, kind of an aerial view of the city and where our campus is. For further context for our campus, here you will see a map version of what our campus looks like. And so we are right here in the heart of Washington, D.C., a few blocks from the White House, a few blocks from Georgetown, a few blocks from the Lincoln Memorial. And as you'll see, there are plenty of things to do in Washington, D.C. We're right across the bridge from Maryland and Virginia. And so there's never a concern about trying to find something to do. We are right up the street from all of the activity that is surrounding us in the city. For context for our students, so if you're familiar with the DMV area, then you probably are already aware of the Metro map. However, if you are not, our Metro map is going to be the map that students use when using public transportation throughout the city and in the Maryland and Virginia side of things. And so what this looks like is there are trains and buses that go to different areas in the DMV. And this map will show you where the trains and buses go, and then what line, indicated by color, that you would use to take to get to those various locations. And so, if you look closely on my left, probably your right, you will see with this arrow that GW is right here on the blue and silver line. Of course, if you are central to other lines, you can still get to this location. You just may have to transfer trains or buses, or maybe do a little bit of walking. As one of the benefits that comes with being a GW student, other than being in Washington, D.C., is going to be the way that we utilize resources for students to move about the city. So on the right hand, my right, your left hand side of the screen, you'll see the university pass option is $100 semester fee, but you are allowed to use this pass for public transportation, for the trains. And I believe for the buses as well to get around the city. So anywhere where the metro goes, this pass would be eligible for use for students. We also are offer the capital bike share option for students as well. That's going to be a bit more feasible for students who are in the city, not so much for students who live in Maryland or Virginia. However, with a $25 cost for annual membership, you're able to utilize the capital bike share option as well. And these are just some of the perks that come along with being a GW student. In terms of, again, providing you all with more context for what this looks like for you and your experience as a graduate student. So there are three airports in the DC area, one in Virginia, well, one in Baltimore, Maryland, one in the DC area, and then there's one in Virginia. And so these are the airports that you'll use to travel to and from if you are flying. Most students are going to fly out of Reagan National. We have quite a few students who also use Dulles or BWI, depending on where you're going. And so that's just, again, giving you context to what's around you while you are on campus. The district has 5 professional sports teams, 6 lines on the metro, like I mentioned in the other slide. There are 17 free Smithsonian attractions, 34 national parks and monuments that are also free to access. And then there are also 45 performing arts and theater venues, over 180 embassies, over 400 international associations, and over 2,000 restaurants in the city. And so while all of these numbers may not necessarily mean anything in this moment, what that just goes to show is that being a student here at GW, you are surrounded by things to do, places to go, things to see, and you have lots of options. And oftentimes, because we are in the city, those activities are free, not just for students, but just for anyone in the area. However, it's something that you can take advantage of while you are a student at GW. So with that, we will kind of reel the conversation in a little bit. While being a student in DC is a great advantage, there are also other advantages that come along with being a student in DC at GW. And so what that looks like for students, especially for our graduate students, is we have plenty of opportunities for students to explore. That looks like field placements, that looks like internships, that looks like using your alumni network. There are lots of options there. And so we encourage all of our students while you are a student, or even if you're thinking about becoming a student, to really look into what that means for your experience as a graduate student, what that means for your experience as a professional, and how you can use these opportunities as leverage to move forward in your career. On this screen, you also will see a link for a virtual tour of our campus. It can be accessed on YouTube. It's also available on the gw.edu general website as well. And again, it just kind of gives you another idea of what campus looks like in person, and how this could be beneficial for your experience as a student. Immersive learning is something that GSHED really prides itself in. These pictures on the right-hand side are not stock photos. These are real professors, real students in our courses, some of whom have graduated. Some of these professors and faculty members are still with us. And so, again, that just kind of goes to show that there is a hands-on approach to learning and experiences with GSHED here at GW. What that looks like for you is you have plenty of opportunities to learn, not just as a student, but continue to learn well into your professional career. We have opportunities for networking within GSHED, but then also as a GW alumni, we have opportunities for professional development, again, within GSHED, but also as a GW student slash alumni. And one of the things that we are also really proud of is that our alumni community is robust and continuing to grow each and every year. Right now, our number is at about 27,500 students or 500 alumni, excuse me. And with our GSHED alumni, we're looking at alumni in over 150 countries. And so what that means is anywhere you go, whether you're in the domestic United States or if you are in another country, there is likely someone near you or with you that attended GW and or is an alumni of GSHED. And so switching gears to reel it into what GSHED offers specifically, so we have five departments within our school that will center where your program will be. So these first few slides will just kind of give a high level overview of each department, and then the following slides will provide you with more detail about the actual programs within each department. So for the first set of program offerings, we have counseling and human development, curriculum and pedagogy, and special education and disability studies. Each of these paragraphs underneath the subtitles kind of provides you with high-level information about what courses or programs are a part of those departments and what that looks like for you as a student. So for counseling and human development, you would be in this department if you are looking at school counseling, clinical mental health counseling, rehab counseling, things of that nature. For curriculum and pedagogy, those programs are going to look like reading and literacy education, curriculum and instruction development, and that's going to be for elementary or secondary schools. For special education and disability studies, those programs are going to be specifically for preparation for students who are in the special education field. Those programs look like emotional and behavioral disabilities courses, as well as we have an online kind of general special education option as well for students. For the educational leadership option, this program is going to include a diverse portfolio of programs. So we have museum education, higher education, and then there are a few other programs that are part of this department that really kind of integrate theory with practice and developing students and teachers as they grow in their careers. And then the last department is going to be human and organizational learning. And with the programs in this department, they're going to be centered more so around interrelationships amongst people and organizations and what that looks like in professional spaces. The PhD in counseling program. So we offer a few PhD programs within GSHED, and we'll kind of go through what they look like for students over the next few slides. This is a K-CREP accredited program. That's going to be really important for you as you are either doing research on your programs or looking to determine, what's next in your professional career. You want to make sure that any program that you attend for counseling is going to be accredited specifically by K-CREP, not necessarily by K-CREP, but you want to make sure there's an accredited body confirming those degrees. Licensure requirements will vary by state for this program. However, we do have reciprocity with about 50 states. And so what that looks like is once you are admitted to the program, you will meet with your advisor and you will work together to make sure that you are preparing for the licensure exam, specifically for whatever state you're interested in. For the PhD in education programs, there are quite a few concentrations listed, and they are all here on this slide. And so I encourage you all to check out their website to learn more about each individual concentration. And then if you have questions or if you need any assistance with that, we have team members who can assist you with figuring out what concentration may be the best fit for you. And then also we have faculty members who are available to connect with prospective students to determine where the need is and where their best fit would be. For the Doctor of Education program, so that's going to be an EDD. That's going to be the degree that you would earn. You have the option to start in the fall, spring, or summer for some of the programs. There are also online options as well. What I will encourage you all to do is to If you're interested in any of the EDD programs, you definitely want to refer to the program website to get more information about what the program requirements are, but then also to learn more about the courses that are associated with each particular program to ensure that you are choosing the correct program that's going to be the best fit for you. And again, if you have any questions about that, we have team members who can assist you with locating the options. And then also we have faculty members who you can connect with to learn more about the program and the course offerings. For the master's in counseling programs, they are listed here. These are the three options that we are offering right now. Each of them are K-CUP accredited, and so each of these courses, each of these websites are going to provide you with more information in regard to the application requirements for these programs, the application deadlines, and then also more information about the courses that are offered as well. Please note with the counseling programs, they are 60 credit hour programs. Just kind of as an FYI. Oh, there we go. Okay. For the curriculum and pedagogy programs, they are listed here. We have the Master's in Elementary Education and the Master's in Curriculum and Instruction. Not to beat a dead horse, but again, all the information that you're looking for all of your programs is going to be on the program website. Here we just include high-level information about each program, but again, we have staff who can help support you with any questions that you may have about any particulars around the programs. Another item to note specifically for the elementary education program is, that program does lead to teacher licensure. And so again, we do have reciprocity with about 50 states. And so what that looks like is whatever state you want to sit for your exam for, your advisor will work with you to make sure that you are prepared for that exam. And if you have other questions about that, we can address those during the Q&A. For the Master's in Special Education and Disability Studies programs, they are CAPE accredited programs as well. There are a few options here that are listed. And again, there are two programs here that lead to licensure. And again, we have the same kind of setup for all of our licensure-based programs. We can work with you depending on where you are located or where you plan to work to ensure that you're prepared for licensure for that particular exam. Something to note for these programs that there are two online options as well. And so our faculty have found that the online option tends to work a bit better for some of our students, just because a lot of our students are also working professionals. And so we want to make sure we highlight that as an option for students. And if you have any additional questions about that, definitely let us know. We can kind of talk you through what that looks like. At a high level, the program is exactly the same. There are a few adjustments that are made for the internship part of the program. However, the coursework is going to be exactly the same as if you were taking the program in person. We have listed here the educational leadership and HOL programs. And while I won't go into detail about each individual program, I do want to highlight that each of these programs does again have a website that will include all the information that you need in reference to admission requirements, admissions documents, as well as admissions deadlines, and then also the courses that are offered. Also on all of our websites for all of our programs, not just these, you will find pictures and bios of the faculty members that you'll be interacting with while you're a part of the program. And that tends to be a highlight for a lot of our students because you really get to know the people that you'll be working with as you matriculate through your program, and you really get to know who they are and what they've studied. And that tends to be helpful for our graduate students. So switching gears a bit into what the application process looks like. So we do have a list of application requirements. I do want to reiterate that this is going to be specific to your program. So while I will go through each of these options, some programs have different requirements than others. And so you want to make sure that you are checking the program website for for your program of choice to ensure that you submit the correct documents for your program. So to begin, of course, you're going to need an online application to start the process. We do require transcripts from all the institutions that you attended. So that includes if you were to study abroad while you were in undergrad. That includes if you have started another master's program somewhere else. That also includes any kind of any institution where you earned a degree. We will need transcripts from all of those institutions. We accept unofficial transcripts when you apply. And then once classes start, we will require official transcripts from you. However, we will send you documentation to request that information. So you don't necessarily have to remember that at this moment, but just know that that information it will be coming. For letters of recommendation, 1 to 2 letters are usually required for most programs. Again, your program website will indicate how many letters are needed for that particular program. You also want to note that for some programs, there are specifics around the type of letter of recommendation. So, for example, there are a few programs that the requirement or the preference by faculty is that one of your letters is an academic letter of recommendation, or for for other programs, the preference is that the letter of recommendation is a professional letter of recommendation. And so you just want to keep that in mind as you're preparing for your application. Please also note that if you have been out of school for quite some time, or you don't have academic references, that's also okay. We have quite a few students who don't have access to previous professors, or they've moved around a lot, and so there's a lot of kind of moving pieces to that request. You can always work with your admissions counselor to determine what would be the best option for you in reference to submitting letters of rec. And so definitely reach out to us if you have any questions about that. The statement of purpose is also going to be required. We suggest about 250 to 500 words for your statement of purpose. Again, I'd like to note that some programs do have specifics around what they want included in that statement of purpose, and any program that has those specifics is going to be listed on the website. And I know it sounds like I'm beating a dead horse, but we want to make sure that we provide all of our students with as much information as possible on the front end so that when you are preparing your application documents, you know exactly what you're getting yourself into. We will also need a copy of your resume, a copy of a writing sample for certain programs. And then there are GRE scores that are optional in an admissions interview. So just kind of full transparency in an effort to make our admissions process a bit more equitable for all of our students, domestic and international. GRE scores are optional. You do not have to submit them if you don't want to. We also have waived the online application fee, so there is no fee to apply. So you can start your application whenever you're ready. With the admissions interview, that's going to be program specific as well. And what that usually looks like is a Zoom interview, usually about an hour long. And the faculty will reach out to you to connect to determine the best day and time for that interview. And it's usually relatively conversational, but there are a few questions that faculty will ask just to ensure that the program that you're applying for is a good fit for you currently, and then also for your professional career as you move forward. I'd also like to note that there are the same requirements, but a bit different requirements for our international students. There are additional materials that we do ask for, such as the English testing and international transcript evaluation. We do have a website for our international students that you can refer to if you have questions about what those requirements look like for you specifically. So, funding is going to always be a major talking point for these conversations because students oftentimes want to know, how do I fund my degree? What does that look like? What are my options? That kind of thing. And so, something that we have found to be really helpful for all of our students is figuring out, what are the things that drive your decision to choose GW? For quite a few of our students, and having conversations with them during the admissions process and then after, once they've been accepted, quality of education has been a major part of their decision to choose GW in lieu of choosing other schools. What students have found is that between GW's location in DC and then also our alumni network and other program specific benefits, choosing GW has been something that a decision that they made because of the quality of their education. In reference to cost, most of our students are awarded some form of scholarship or funding aid. For context, there is no specific application for scholarships. It's actually going to be included in your online application. And so I can go into more detail on that with the next slide, but most of our students are awarded some kind of scholarship or aid when they apply. And to share with you a bit of context, so the best time to apply for graduate school is now. While we know the landscape of higher education is constantly changing, as is with many industries, you definitely want to make sure that you're putting your best foot forward to prepare for your career. And graduate school is always going to be a great investment as you are making decisions about what's next in your life. So to continue the conversation around funding, our financial aid process looks a bit like this. So, as I mentioned before, there is not a separate application for our funding or scholarship option. So what will happen is when you start your application, there will be a question in the online application that asks you if you would like to be considered for funding or scholarship opportunities. You're going to check yes if you are interested in that. And then once your application is submitted, you'll automatically be entered into our student pool. And then our scholarship team and admissions teams work together to determine how much funding we are able to give to students based on a myriad of items in the criteria. Um, in terms of assistantships, they are usually reserved for our doctoral students. Unfortunately, our master students are not eligible for assistantships at this time. However, we do have an office of graduate fellowships and assistantships where you can get additional information, additional support if you are a master student looking for assistantships here at GW. Assistantships are faculty requests by faculty requests. So what that looks like is we don't find out about if faculty are going to request assistantships until the school year, until the semester has started. And then what happens is the faculty will reach out to you directly as a student, and then admissions, we are looped in on the back end. Unfortunately, we don't have any control over who is selected and how they are selected. That is typically up to our faculty. For our US students, when you're looking at financial aid, you want to make sure you fill out your FAFSA. That information is sent directly to GW, and then the financial aid office can provide you with additional information or resources in reference to if you have questions about the FAFSA or the FAFSA process. We also offer our students external scholarship opportunities. So we have a website that our team has put together to provide students with more information about scholarship opportunities and what that looks like for you all. I definitely encourage you all to look through the website, apply for any and everything that you're eligible for. You want to make sure that you are putting your best foot forward when it comes to finding funding. There are lots of opportunities out there, some of which we know about, some of which we don't know about. So you want to definitely look high and low if that's something that you're interested in for funding your education. And last but not least, most of our graduate students are working professionals. Our faculty are actually acutely aware of that. And so, something that we always encourage our students to do is to check with your company, organization, the school district, if you're a teacher, to find out if there are opportunities within your employment wheelhouse for financial support through your employer. There are also quite a few benefits to being a GW employee, and one of those is tuition benefits. And so we also encourage students to check out GW Careers if you are interested in becoming an employee of GW to take advantage of those benefits. Quite a few employees of GW take advantage of the benefits. That's one of the perks for sure. What I will share with you all, just as an FYI, is the admissions office does not have any control over if you were hired, when you're hired, and what that process looks like. So you would need to address those issues or any concerns you may have with our HR department. Just kind of as an FYI for all of you on the call, most of our students, like I mentioned before, are working professionals. And so what that looks like is most of our classes that are offered in the evenings. That looks like 5, 6, or 7 o'clock p.m., whether they are online or in person. And that is done because, again, we understand that work-life balance can be a bit tricky when you're trying to include graduate school in your process. But our faculty want to make sure that they have made courses and classes as accessible as possible. On your screen here, you will see a QR code. This QR code and a website. The QR code and website will lead you to other events that we are having as an admissions office. We are quite diligent in making sure that we have opportunities for students to connect with our teams, to connect with faculty, to connect with one another throughout the year. And so feel free to scan this with your phone to register for future events. We have virtual events, we have in-person events. We try to offer lots of options for students, for those who are close to campus, those who are kind of far away. Again, we just want to provide students with the support that they need to connect with us, connect with faculty, and connect with the campus as well. And I believe that will conclude the presentation portion of the conversation. So thank you all so much for your time and for your ear.